What's up, everybody? I'm going to give this like maybe 5 minutes, see if anybody wants to hop on. Just giving this a couple minutes to see if anybody wants to join. I'm going to start probably in like 3 minutes here, like 7:20 Eastern, I guess. In the interim, I guess I'm going to pull up a couple of charts. Kind of go from there. Yeah, if you're just joining, like maybe like 2 or 3 minutes. Wow, that's crazy. Sorry, I just pulled. I'm going to start this in like a minute or two, but I just pulled up this like old school trend line that I had for XRP USD, the weekly chart for Poloniex, and pretty nuts. I wish you could post pictures like in the YouTube chat. Look at BTC real quick. All right. All right. So I guess I'll start. So what's up, everybody? Solomon here. I hope you guys are all having a fantastic Thursday. If you see any scam ads on this video, please don't participate in those, obviously. Yeah, this market's crazy right now. So to give a little bit of a backdrop of kind of what I've been doing for the past 2 weeks, even with somebody like, for myself personally, I can only speak for myself, but, I consistently try to look for things. But there's times even for me that, I'll almost get shell shocked where I've cashed out a good amount of crypto at this point in time. None of my utility assets, but mainly some of the smaller ones that may have ran. And then it's almost this weird position where, like, what do I do with the cash that I cashed out? Because I certainly don't want to have idle fiat sitting around. I want to be able to make moves with it. Also, there's tax implications to that as well. The utility-based assets I still haven't touched. I'm still kind of in that same mindset. But from a capital standpoint, I made the decision about 2.5 months ago not to put any more fiat into crypto. So it leads me to this very weird decision, especially with small caps, where some of them have done well, and I may have some capital there, but are they going to keep? We had a huge correction, which we needed to have. Are these assets? There's going to be a cop car coming down the road. Hang on. So I'm kind of placed in this weird position where it's like the smaller assets that have done well, that have kind of corrected down, that I didn't sell when I probably should have sold. Like, do I want to sell them now or do I want to wait? Or if I'm in profit, especially on smaller caps, does it make sense to try to find newer ones? I will say this. So I will give you guys tips as far as how I've had to adjust many times in this market. And from November to January, and I'll go through the comments too. From November to January, like when I really started diving out into other assets besides XRP, and I've obviously held HBAR, things like Quant, things like Polkadot before November, certain assets. But when I really started to research other assets and potentially invest in them and present news to other people based on them, from November to January, it was, or maybe even early February, it was solely based on utility. And a lot of those utility assets did really well. I could use the same metrics that I use for looking up things for XRP or for Ripple, targeted searches, et cetera, et cetera. I would say probably like mid-February, there was kind of this weird momentum shift where it wasn't necessarily, there was still utility assets running, certainly. And then we had this like IDO. If you don't know what an IDO is, it's essentially like this initial decentralized exchange offering platforms that were essentially launching tokens on their platform via pre-sales, et cetera, et cetera. So almost like an ICO or an IPO, if you're more familiar with stocks. And ICOs were real big, back in 2017. That was kind of the craze. Now we have this IDO thing that came out. A lot of those projects that launched on IDOs did really well up until maybe like mid-February. And they still do well, but they have this huge initial dump. Fuck, Kevin, thanks, bro. So mid-February-ish, I would say that there was like a momentum shift. And I wasn't willing to swallow the hype-based momentum shift because I was still holding my utility-based assets. Certainly that is kind of key for me with this market is holding the assets that are going to change the world. But I started reassessing kind of the plan in mid-February. Well, not mid-February, probably like late March, mid to late March, where going against that hype-based trend wasn't working because it's obviously doing something. So I still look at here's kind of where I'm at. I looked at the utility assets for something that can change my life forever. And I looked at the hype-based assets for something that I could certainly lose money on, but that also might change my situation if I pick even a couple of the right ones. Now, what's dangerous about that now, like when there's a trend that happens in crypto, which is I've seen this happen, especially when you're paying attention as much. The trend kicks off, but it might last for like, especially during a bull market, like 2 to 3 to maybe 4 weeks. And then other people that are like scammers will catch on to that trend and try to capitalize upon that trend. So what I mean by that is these smaller caps, like we saw scams 2 months ago, certainly. There were rug pulls 2 months ago. A lot of people like a month and a half ago were using Dex Tools, which is like a charting website. They were using a thing called PooCoin. If you go to Dex Tools, it would always have kind of the top 10 coins that are trending come across the top. I've talked to a couple of people about this. I don't use that at all as a metric right now because what happens is if you go to Dex Tools, there's people that can go into airplane mode and just keep auto refreshing. There's bots that essentially can auto refresh a coin so that once a coin is looked up, even if it's a complete shit coin and a scam coin, if you auto refresh enough, it will trend on the top 10 to make you almost believe that it's like a decent project, right? And here's another interesting thing. I saw that, what was it, Ghost? There was one on there 2 days ago called Ghost Face. And then it was on there yesterday as well. You start looking through the wallets of some of these coins, and the top 100 wallets of these coins are all making the same moves, presenting like similar scammy type coins. I don't know what Ghostface is at right now. It could be doing well. It could not be doing well, but it's getting much harder to find small caps. I don't like like if you were to do a small cap right now and you were going to try to 50 or 100 extra money, this isn't financial advice. I wouldn't do anything that had a pre-sale. unless it was like a decent, legit project, and I would wait for the dump and then get back in after that dump. But it's also like trying to vet out a Telegram and trying to vet out some sort of a Twitter account. And just for me, if you invest into 5 small caps, you're probably going to get rug pulled on 2, get burnt on 2. And if you hit 1, it could be game changing, but it's gotten so much more difficult to try to do this at this point in time. So now, like, I'm looking at like what we all believe in as well, like these utility-based assets. So Bitcoin for me, on the weekly, I'm still watching it very, very much so. I wish I could post this picture for you guys. I have the 21 EMA and the 50 EMA. The 21 EMA, essentially on the weekly, when we break below it, we're kind of in a bear market. But we may be in this consolidation phase as well, because the real kicker for me is if the 21 EMA crosses below the 50 on the weekly, which it has not done yet, because that will be, in my opinion, an actual bear market. So I'm kind of watching that right now. I'm watching XRP versus Bitcoin as well. I'm watching XRP versus USD. Now, what I will say is I watch a lot of people in this space. I watch Blockchain Backer. He deals a lot in like fractals and stuff like that. I haven't heard him, and maybe he has, talk about the actual EMAs or the SMA, however you want to put it, for Bitcoin. I think that's a very important thing to be watching. All you have to do is go to tradingview.com. Up on the top, you can go to BTC USD. I usually use, for live trading, I'll use Bitstamp, and you can choose a different exchange to go to. And then you just go to indicators and you just type in EMA twice, and then you change the settings. 1, make it 50 and change the color to make it more highlighted, and 1, make it 21. And all you have to really do is look left to see where things could potentially be going here. Now, taking it from kind of a mass scale, I mean, a lot of people are saying this market is different. Institutional investment is here, et cetera, et cetera. Well, I will tell you my personal opinion. I do not think that we're in a utility bull market whatsoever. I shouldn't say whatsoever. I should say there's probably some sort of a split. I would say like a 78 to 22 split, something like that. I think that about 75 to 78% of this bull market is still complete speculation, just like it was the last time. But the last time it was probably more like 85%, 90%. The last bull market in 2017. So we're going to start seeing utility assets continue to do well. But when the market is as hypey as it is right now, it's just very dangerous for me. I stopped recommending small caps on my direct Patreon for a reason, but I still will certainly do the Telegram chat. I can't catch everything. I think the Telegram chat is ridiculous because a lot of people catch a lot of different things. And it really only takes one. You know what I mean? If you catch one, it takes one. So Bro Toshi says that's 2 cigs now. I'm still counting. Ripped a vape already. We should be. I hope that there's advertisements for quitting smoking on here. So yeah, I don't know if anybody else posted this recently. I think that silver is vastly undervalued. So I started really kind of delving into looking at precious metals. I've always kind of been interested in them. I've bought silver in the past, for the past few years, but never to a point that it was like I felt like it was a substantial investment into silver. But I may be making moves like that here in the very near future, just because of the fact that I've looked at it, not even from just a mainstream media point of view, almost like trying to deep dive how silver is actually mined, looking at the correlation between gold and silver historically, looking at the rarity, and also looking at where the green economy is going, and kind of seeing that, like, yes, silver may be used for a lot more than people realize. And even in like solar panels and shit like that. So for me, we historically see this thing that tells us that there's a 15-to-1 correlation from gold to silver. Now, we're obviously below that right now. But you have to also understand, too, like how inflated the dollar is right now. So that's never been priced into gold or silver, the inflation rate of the dollar. So it's crazy to me once you actually start looking at it. Also, I wasn't aware of this until I actually looked into it. Silver is not primarily, normally, probably like 80 to 90% of the silver out there that's mined isn't primarily mined just for silver. It's like a byproduct of mining other minerals. So it's almost like these mining companies go out there and they're trying to mine copper or all this other shit, And if they get some silver along the way, then they get some silver along the way. They don't just go out and just straight mine silver for the most part. There's so many different things that just lead me to believe, especially from like an inflation standpoint, that I think precious metals, for me personally, it's not going to be a 100x gain on precious metals. It might be, but I don't think that that's going to be in the very near future. However, I do think that maintaining value, and essentially, like if you're in the United States, for me personally, like what if you were to buy silver and you expect it to go up, and you could potentially use it to offset taxes, hedge against inflation, as it always has been. But I think that it's just vastly undervalued based on everything that I've looked at. So that's kind of where I'm at with silver. I think gold is right along the same way. Like I thought gold was a little bit overextended and overvalued, but if you look historically, especially if you look at gold's chart, wow, I think silver can certainly outperform gold. I think that gold will always probably be number one as far as that correlation is concerned. But I do think that the ratio may come down over the next few years, and maybe at the latest, like 2030, we might see something like that, especially with all these green initiatives going out. So let me take some of these chats here. Yeah, Vic, I will say, so my sorry tech abilities have made Patreon a disappointment. No shock since I'm an older veterinarian / rancher. Your YouTube information, however, has been invaluable. Thanks much. Yeah, Vic, I will say that the Patreon for me, it's not a platform to be doing what I'm doing. I'm glad that I still have it, because I think the Telegram extended off of that and the Twitter chat extended off of that is probably more invaluable even than the Patreon itself. To deep dive something on Patreon and to post it to Patreon, and I'm not telling any of you guys to go on to Patreon and subscribe. I don't care. But to do that, I literally have to save individual photos. So instead of taking a snippet of something, like you can use that snippet tool on your computer and just copy paste it into something like I would do on Twitter or anywhere else. You can't do that. You have to save multiple photos. You have to like manually do all this stuff. So for deep diving, and I have deep dive stuff on there. Oh, by the way, if you guys have not checked out, so I did a gigantic deep dive on SingularityNet probably in December of last year. And there is a decentralized like autonomous organization, like a Singularity DAO that essentially was just released at the end of was it the end of April or like mid-May, either the end of April or mid-May. Through it's essentially a SingularityNet initiative, which is the whole goal here is artificial intelligence powered DeFi portfolios, which is to me just like sounds ridiculously mind-blowing. Regardless if the tokenomics are more of a slow rollout, like you would expect with some of these like N.W.O coins, because I believe Singularity Net probably is one of those. But Singularity DAO is interesting to me because I think that managed portfolios based on artificial intelligence and that kind of monitoring that we don't have yet right now, from a statistics standpoint, and even probably maybe even they try to use some sort of research metrics into these things, could be big. So they have a coin. The token rollout is somewhat not ideal, but if they roll on a platform where there's utility, who knows? So, and right now I think it's at a $70 million market cap. I'm not sure what Singularity Net itself is at. I know that it was in the high hundreds of millions. So check it out. Let me take some more questions here. Yeah, Vic, and again, dude, like Patreon's not for everybody. For me right now, and it's almost like kind of what I would try to do across the board, even with these YouTube videos, it's irresponsible. I felt it was irresponsible starting probably 3 to 4 weeks ago, posting small caps on Patreon. Because yes, people can make money on them, but yes, you can lose all of your money very quickly. And the speed that these small caps go up and down is insane. So if I post something and I feel like I want to get into it, and then somebody sees that same post 9 hours later and they get into it, they're going to be screwed. You know what I mean? So for me, it doesn't make sense. The Telegram chat and the Twitter chat, I think, are more ideal. Obviously, I don't advise anybody to buy anything that anybody posts, including myself, on those chats, but it does give people more information to be able to look at different things. Patreon is a really shitty platform for rolling out information, but I'm going to still do it. So, Jesus God, you guys are killing me today with these. I really appreciate it. That's amazing. Thanks, Vic. Of course, I've heard of Constellation, DAG, Air Force. That's a friggin', it's going to be used. So, I mean, there's coins like Constellation. I know Kevin Cage is a big DAG fan. There's coins that I missed that I knew were going to be big that I did deep dives on, but they were like a little bit inconvenient for me to buy. And then like 3 months later, I'm looking at them and I'm like, shit. So, part of my plan for the bear market is certainly to go heavier into some of these coins. Like Energy Web would be one, Constellation would be one, Avalanche, which I knew about Avalanche. Obviously, I didn't go into it. Would be one. But for me, also, it's almost like where are we at in this bull market? Are we going to see XRP do a 7 to an 8x? Are we going to see DAG or Constellation do a 7 to an 8x? Are we going to see more? Are we going to see Quant go up 5 or 10x in this bull market? And that's fine. They may do that. But for me, I was willing to, and everybody's different. I was willing to hold the bags that I already have, which I'm comfortable with from a utility-based standpoint, and take a small amount of capital and believe in myself to the point that I can find maybe 2 or 3 $500,000 or $1 million or $2 million market caps that can easily do a 20 or 30x. That's not easy for everybody. That was my plan. And you do get wrecked doing that to an extent as well. I would say out of every 5 that you buy, especially right now with how many rug pulls there are, you're probably going to lose money on 3 of them. Probably 4 of them, maybe all 5 of them. But if you catch one, that's all that really matters, right? So that was just kind of my move. And Flare community, bro, diversification certainly is key. I see people consistently saying, I saw a dude today say, I went all into HBAR finally. And there's like people being like, yeah, man, I did it too. Like, that's fantastic. I'm glad that you guys did that because, we've heard historically that consolidated positions will gain wealth, but diversified positions will maintain it. I think that's kind of a bullshit statement to say in the crypto market when we're literally still in the Wild West. And we have no idea what's going to happen with any of these assets. Even ones that we call utility-based assets, XRP, Quant, HBAR, Algorand, Zinfin, all of these ones that we believe have utility, even people that believe in Zap's utility and stuff like that. I don't have Zap. I don't necessarily buy into Zap right now, but, I could be completely wrong. I was wrong about fucking Doge. But yeah, I know that Zap has the bonding curve and all this shit. I get it. But diversification to me is extremely important. And diversification for me kind of maintained a solid grounded position during this bull market where if certain assets fluctuated, I could still be okay because other assets were doing well. So, going on to HBAR reminds me very much of what I did with XRP from the beginning of 2018 until probably mid 2019. And then I started maybe delving out a tiny bit, but XRP was, and I wasn't doing YouTube. I wasn't doing Patreon. And granted, I make money from both of these platforms, but YouTube, I just started trying to get back into again because I actually like doing it to an extent. Patreon, I've been trying to maintain. It's a difficult thing because I deal with emotions in this market just like everybody else. But I guess what I'm saying is, diversifying your portfolios to me is a very smart thing to do in this market because when I went all into XRP, I was almost tunnel vision to the point where I wasn't seeing other things that were going on in the market. And once you start having that tunnel vision, it gets a lot harder to look at the actual forest because there were so many assets in March of last year that I wish I would have gotten into or gone into harder. But I was still trying to deep dive banking documents on XRP and all these, like trying to tie all these crazy relationships together. Certainly valuable that I did that, I think, and that kind of leads us to where we're going to go in the future. It's a good metric for learning, but focusing on one asset is not the key here because, as we all know, and I almost look at like what Quant is trying to do and what Alliance Block is trying to do, and I'm not saying to go all into those either. I think interoperability is 100% key. I think utility is key as well. I think finding networks, and I think networks are really where this whole thing kind of networks that facilitate and necessitate the use of a token, where that token is used to almost interoperate with other blockchains. So Alliance Block, what they're trying to do right now, along with Quant, is almost like have this alliance bridge where they're piecemealing certain aspects of different DLTs for whatever the use case is and the best utility for that use case. So that's interesting to me. Diversification for me is just fucking giant. I just won't sell certain utility-based assets unless they get to a certain valuation. And I made that decision probably about a month and a half ago. I used to have these targets for XRP. I used to have these targets for Quant. I used to have these targets for certain things like HBAR. For me, at this point in time, I'm a long-term investor in these types of things. They would have to get to valuations for me that would seem crazy not to cash out of, to even to take like 50% out, because dollar cost averaging during a bear market, I did that with XRP for a year and a half. If these things don't go, if XRP doesn't go to $7, $6 to $8, I won't even consider selling it. If HBAR doesn't go to, let's say $3, $3 to $5, I won't even consider selling any of it. I'm willing to ride it back down, and I'm willing to just dollar cost average and maybe catch some smaller ones, because here's the interesting thing for me as well. This DeFi thing is ridiculous. So even during a bear market, and I fervently believe this, there's going to be people that say, no, it's bullshit, it's not going to happen. Even during a bear market, let's say Bitcoin crashes back down to 16 to 18K, which I don't know if it goes that low. I know BC Backer says that's probably what he expects to happen. I believe that's around that valuation. I always look at that like 70 to 90% correction. I think that a little bit above 20K is more realistic to me, but I'm probably wrong, and he's probably wrong, and everybody else is probably wrong. What's that show? The Good Life, or whatever, where that or The Good Place, and that chick dies and goes to heaven, and they're explaining like what heaven is, and the guy from Cheers, I forget his name. He's explaining like nobody's ever got heaven right except for one dude that got high in the 70s and he nailed it like 90%. That's what I consider like predicting prices for crypto. I mean, it's a mixed bag, and you kind of have to just have to hedge, and just nobody's going to be 100% right. But where this market goes in the future for me just doesn't make sense for me to sell some of these utility-based assets right now. And I'm not a financial advisor, but going all into something just scares the shit out of me. You know what I mean? Lady Enigma, what's up? Lady Enigma is old school in this chat, by the way. Oh, wait, shit. Yeah, Lady, you're a mod now. You've been here forever. I'm off tomorrow. What's up, Carolina? What's up, Alex? Woody Harrelson is a weedy. What? You go up and yeah, The Good Place. Yeah, Frank, The Good Place. But yeah, that was super funny, and my wife was like restarting to watch that, and she it was gonna really piss me off, the guy's name, but yeah, she's basically like, or he's like, nobody's ever gotten heaven right, but one dude in the 70s was like tripping on mushrooms and got it like 90% right. That's like reminds me of like what people charting. And TA, like I know a lot of people say TA is bullshit. TA is not bullshit whatsoever. My plan probably when we do hit a bear market is to really take some classes on TA and at least start to try to learn it more. I look at very, very big picture stuff and try to keep it as simple as possible, which has worked, especially during a bull market. Now, during a bear market, I'm going to be screwed because I will have unless I could do like an inverse chart type thing, I guess. But yeah, Ted Danson, that's it, Ted Danson. Thanks, Kim. 317 watching, 114 likes, and I was one of those. I appreciate it. Couldn't catch a stream while I'm at work, but thanks for all you do. Thanks, Bobby. Appreciate it, dude. Getting into Elliott. Yeah, well, like there's certain, like Jason says, getting into Elliott waves. I'm not a charting guy for sure. Like I literally, for what I do is I'll look at, I keep it extremely simple. So I'll look at the 21 EMA and the 50 EMA. You can do the SMAs as well. They're pretty similar. I'll pull those up on different time frames. For something like Bitcoin or XRP or Ethereum, you can look at larger moves. You can even look at like the monthly for big moves. I like looking at Bitcoin.com. I'll post that right here. Which essentially is like you don't even need to know how to generate these charts. If you go to look into Bitcoin.com And I have to give a shout out to Crypto Crew University for showing. I'm not affiliated with him. I don't know him. I've messaged him a couple times back and forth, but he's posted about that website. Look into Bitcoin.com, and there's like the golden ratio multiplier, which for me would be something that I would use to trigger buys during a bear market. Very easy to look at. You can tell. You don't even have to know how to read a chart. You can look at that. Logarithmic growth curves is on there. Pi cycle top indicator, which kind of has failed as an indicator, but yeah, I mean, I think it's a valuable site. ALBT is on Qcoin, bro. I wouldn't recommend Uniswap anymore. I don't know what wallets they have. Bobby, are they on Trust Wallet? So JBay says, dude, I applied the golden ratio after you mentioned it, and I tagged the top of BTC within 3 days. Yeah, dude. That look into Bitcoin.com site is really interesting. There's another tool on there called the Bitcoin Investor Tool. And thanks, Nick. Hold on, Hive. I have to look at Hive, actually. I've had a couple people message me about Hive. But I will look at Hive, Nick, and I will definitely get back to you, dude. I'll do another stream. I have them pulled up right now. I'll look at them. But that Bitcoin Investor Tool essentially is basically, it's showing. I wish you guys could see it. If you go right now on to look into Bitcoin.com while you're listening to this, you could pull up the Bitcoin Investor Tool. And I think it's like the moving average, like the 500x moving average, something crazy. But the top line essentially is showing you, we keep getting rejected from it, but every bull market historically, after we've broken through it, that's the parabolic portion of the bull market. And you literally have between like a week to 3 weeks. So why is everybody excited for tomorrow? Carolina, Enigma, Bobby. Something to do with Flare? Or is it that sunshine meeting? Potentially deep diving shitcoins has left me out of the loop. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's the Miami thing. Okay. Are you guys in Miami? Bobby, are you in Miami? What would you use to cash out and hold my USD? So AE20B, Anthony, for me, I'm just going to bite the bullet. I cashed out into USD. The caveat to that is I'm not comfortable just holding fiat that can't be gaining capital. So I'm kind of weighing my options out. So I don't know if precious metals is the move for me, or potentially even a stake. And I don't have enough USD for it to be life-changing if I go into a staking platform with a stable coin. So I would if I had like $500,000 or $1 million, but I don't have anywhere near that. So I'm pissed off. Lady Enigma and Bobby, what the hell is going on tomorrow? Oh, wait, hold on. I got to make WT a mod. I've heard of XCAD, Bobby, or Tyrone. I think you've mentioned it. What's the market cap of XCAD? It can't be crazy high. It only has like $4 million of volume. Tokenizing YouTubers, a DeFi solution to create creator monetization, powered by Zilliqa. I'm definitely going to look at this one too. Oh, wow. This is like a super Zilliqa initiative. So Max Cantella is in XCAD with CEO and co-founder of Anquan Capital, co-founder of Zill. Colin Miles, CEO of Zilliqa. So yeah, certainly something that I will look into, dude. Thoughts on Fauci? No. I'm not going to get political on here. I think most people that follow me on YouTube understand my political beliefs, but I also fall in the middle for certain topics and maybe even left for certain topics. But as a whole, I think you guys know where I stand, and I appreciate everybody's political views, in my opinion. So I have no problem if you guys believe something or if I believe something different. So I'm certainly not going to get into that on here, though. Come on, go full Sam. Dude says, come on, go full Sam, I am. I love Sam's stuff. He is he's on a self-inflicted rampage right now. And hey, dude, props to him. I mean, he believes what he believes. I'm not going to go full Sam I am. I appreciate that. I think that guy is a very smart individual. I don't believe everything he believes. And I'm okay with that. And I'm sure that he'd be okay with that as well. I respect what he's done for the XRP community, especially from going towards like straight, thinking that we're going to be millionaires overnight to like kind of I think a lot of people got pissed off at Sam because I think he truthfully believed like the stuff he was presenting about BG and all this stuff, which is great. But he never told you guys to buy anything or anything like that. He was just doing his due diligence and research to the best of his ability. He went completely deep divey into the XRPL and just learned and informed himself about exactly what he was doing. So for me to get pissed off at somebody like that, no, I like that dude. I respect him as a person. He has his own beliefs and I have my own beliefs. So I'm certainly not going to knock somebody for their own beliefs. I will say he's certainly passionate about his beliefs, which is completely fine with me. I don't care. What's that?
A great thing.
To be passionate about your beliefs?
Yeah, without stifling anybody else's beliefs.
Yeah, I mean, that's really the key to this whole thing. And like, that's why I never understood like Bitcoin maximalists and all this stuff, like hating XRP to the extent where they're not even willing to learn about it. And utility and to see the relationships that are involved is crazy. So I certainly troll Anthony Pompliano enough. And I hopefully I put out some good stuff, I think. But I'm not going to knock his beliefs. Like so this is interesting to me. So I certainly don't hold Bitcoin. If Bitcoin went to a crazy low valuation, I probably would buy a Bitcoin at this point in time. But trying to investigate like solar powered mining and stuff like that for Bitcoin is very interesting to me. I'm curious if that would pan out to an extent because I think right now that's the only solution. Bitcoin and the mining companies and the coders and the developers that are still working on Bitcoin will never agree on something that is going to sacrifice Bitcoin as it is right now. And we've seen that in the past because every time that happens, Bitcoin forks into something else like Bitcoin Cash or Satoshi's Vision or whatever it is. So for me, the saving grace for Bitcoin is green energy, and they would have to figure out a way to power all the mining rigs to enable that to occur. But we do know that as the network grows, it's just going to be consuming more and more energy. So it's almost like a robbing Peter to pay Paul type thing, right? So I don't know how it's sustainable. It's an interesting thing to look into. I'm certainly not going to I've knocked Bitcoin enough, but people that are invested in that network, I'm not going to knock because they've proven time and time again that Bitcoin does have value to an extent, at least right now. No matter what anybody else thinks, no matter what I think from a utility-based standpoint, I certainly don't hold Bitcoin, but it does have value because it's went to $60,000. It's went from almost nothing up to whatever the previous bull market tops are, and I don't know if this is the top or not, but for me to say it doesn't have value would be bullshit because it does. It has name recognition. It has a perceived store of value mechanism, almost like digital gold. I don't believe that narrative, but it's there. So a lot of people believe it. I agree. Yeah. Bitcoin growth will only slow it down further. Yeah. I mean, that's a fact, right? But if they can solve the problem with somebody stepping in, like Elon Musk from Tesla or whatever, to have these green initiatives come about, who knows? I'm not going to sit here and speculate. Can you grab me? Yeah, Connie, what is exciting about tomorrow? Everybody's excited. I think it's that sunshine meeting that means nothing, but maybe not. Yeah, proof of work. And, William, I don't know if you go by William or Bill, but my cousin is like in his mid 50s, and he's just starting to try to get into crypto. And it does take a lot of learning for yourself to try to get into this space. So for me, he only thought, and his first question to me was, well, I don't understand, like, because of how much power it takes to energy it takes to power these networks. I don't understand how it's sustainable. He only thought that literally proof of work was the only way to go about it, but he didn't even know the term proof of work. He just knew that like one Bitcoin transaction was enough to power a U.S. household for like 17 days or whatever the hell that stat is. And I had to explain to him, I'm like, look, there's other mechanisms out there. There's proof of stake. There's consensus, which is XRPL. But then I'm like, it's confusing because all of blockchain is consensus, right? Proof of work is consensus. The miners putting in that work, solving out these mathematical problems, and once they solve it, being validated by some of the other miners, and then being able to add the first, that first transaction onto the next block of the network, that is consensus. That is the network coming to consensus. That's what Bitcoin inherently is, right? That's proof of work. Now you have proof of stake as well. You have consensus, the consensus-based mechanism through the XRPL, which was pre-mined, obviously. So there's all sorts of different things to learn about, but people just coming into the space are fucking flying blind. And there's nobody out there giving the information out that these people, need to learn. And really it comes down to looking at where the world's going in the next 5 to 10 years and understanding that first and foremost, and then delving into the actual networks and these digital assets that are trying to be more efficient from that green energy standpoint. A lot of people shit on Hedera Hashgraph. They shit on XRP. They shit on even I've seen people shit on Alliance Block for the tokenomics. The tokenomics to me don't matter for utility-based assets that are going to be rolled out for with some sort of a plan, because those are more long-term holds for me. The speculation will do what it's going to do. There is a plan involved. All of these governing members for Hedera Hashgraph, they have a plan. They're testing and using the network for a reason. They govern and own the network for a reason. It might take a little bit of time for that plan to roll out, but it wasn't like the thought process behind the tokenomics between HWAR or behind HWAR were just rolled out similar to a way that like fucking SafeMoon was rolled out. No, these things were thought about. These things were planned. These things weren't just planned through that organization either. Even through like Ripple, there's certain plans in place, I'm sure, for the tokenomics of these things. So that's kind of my stance on Bitcoin and everything else. So. Sorry about that. I was getting a call. Yeah, I mean, Hedera has, the Hedera consensus service. The gossip protocol is interesting. I just think there's not, in my opinion, there's not a silver bullet. Maybe at some point there will be in crypto. I believe probably at some point there will be some sort of a silver bullet, but not in the form of a token, but in the form of an interoperable network, where everything can kind of come and play in the sand and, essentially be utilized. But not even just one. There'll probably be maybe 3 to 5 of those that all interoperate together. God, I continuously say how early we are in this market, and we still are extremely early. We're not even regulated yet. So here's the thing that's crazy to me is I do think that they try to shake out retail investors to the extent of the small and the small man and the small woman, as far as people that don't have a lot of capital to get into this market. I don't know how they shake it out completely, but if you cash out with taxes, now there's one of two things that needs to happen. I don't know if there's like some sort of a flat tax on crypto. I don't see that happening because I don't see them changing the system like that, at least in the interim, or there being this crazy long-term capital gains tax of whatever the hell is being proposed, like 43%. That's going to shake out a shit ton of people, It's not going to shake out millionaires because they know where the space is going anyways. And, you know, they're willing to eat that regardless because they know if they invest at the bottom of a digital asset, you know, even Bitcoin at $3,000 and enough capital riding it up to 60K, 40% doesn't fucking matter to them. But to us, it's an incentive not to get in. Me personally, I don't give a shit if they raise the capital gains tax to 70%. I will still be in this market. Because I know the implications and I know the power that I have in this market from a research standpoint. And I know that my small amount of capital can be turned into life-changing money. So I don't really give a shit what they do to try to regulate me out of this market. I'm staying in. And I will just try to find the best assets to stay in too. So it's kind of my mindset, I guess. AI will certainly take over, which is, you know, another reason that I really like their hash graph is, you know, we've heard before that they are quantum resistant. So nervous. Yeah, the Fed's not going anywhere though, unfortunately. So Jesus. I guess before I keep going, Kevin, thank you so much, dude. That's ridiculous. And same thing with you, Vic. I mean, it's absolutely insane. I feel like I'm Alex Cobb right now on the XRP the moon chart. A lot of people give Alex flack too, dude. Like that dude is old school as fuck in the XRP community, and he has put so much work in. Whatever he does at this point in time, he deserves whatever he gets from it. So Eddie is a monster at research. Kevin Cage is a monster. Looks at all sorts of different things. Kevin certainly looks, you know, I've heard people that are in his Patreon as well. He's a very much so, like, if you're kind of like an old school investor, not even old school, but like, I shouldn't say that, but traditional to the point where you just want to gain 30 to 60% on every trade, you know, or at least try to, and then build wealth up that way, dude. He's a monster at that, and he is just super dedicated to the point where, like, he sees these things with these assets that are a little bit bigger, where he's more comfortable with them, which is understandable, and he has targets, and that's kind of what he does. He has the patience that is necessary to survive and do well in this market. For me, I'll just hold utility assets. We all have different kind of modes of operating here. I'll hold different assets, and I am willing to risk a little bit of capital for smaller ones. And if I lose money, I'll lose money. But if not, you know, I've done well on some, and I haven't on some. So I think quantum computing can wreck proof of work in certain other digital assets. Yes. Quantum, have you guys ever looked into like actual quantum computing? It's crazy as shit. I did a research paper on quantum computing, or at least I deep dived it and did like a self-imposed research paper probably like 3 years ago. And it's almost like the Terminator, like whenever existence ends. Because if you aren't aware, so like quantum computing, like code. Everything right now, as far as code is concerned, either operates in two states. It either operates in the 0 state or the 1 state, right? And it's not an either or. That's just the way that it is from my research, at least. Now, quantum computing allows for operation in both, in the 0 and the 1 state across the board. So essentially, like quantum computing to me, this is more AI, but AI for me is very scary because it's almost like, you know, let's program an AI, an AI program that facilitates quantum computing and all this other shit to eradicate cancer, but we don't put the correct mechanisms in, and, you know, all of humanity is wiped out essentially. But cancer is gone, so the program succeeded, et cetera, et cetera. So quantum computing is crazy. I am an AI robot that drinks beers. Who was the dude that was like, if you had $100 million, what would you put into? And I said, silver and what did I say? Silver and ammo. And every comment was like, I didn't know you were hunting werewolves. Panama Canal, bro. I've been through it. I rode a ship through it. I think Spark's going to be ridiculous. I don't want to say I said this, but I have said this before. I thought that the Flare launch would coincide with some sort of a bear market. I don't know if that's the case right now, but I did say that multiple times. I think I am wrong at this point in time. I think that we're more in a consolidation standpoint. I don't know. If the 21 EMA on the weekly crosses below the 50 EMA on the weekly, this is over. We might see altcoins run, but it's over. So, does anybody else have any questions? Didn't they postpone it to late June for the Flare launch? Yeah, Alex, VeChain's big too, dude. I'm not going to sell VeChain. Deeply integrated into China, so. I haven't heard the name Digibyte in a long time. I don't have any thoughts because I am not as well versed into Digibyte as I would like to be. I don't think that anything's gold backed. Yeah, I thought it was late June. Zinfin's big. I mean, I think it ties in to an extent. I don't even know. Like, I haven't looked at Perlin for a while. Perlin was like big. One Harmony. Jumpmaster 22, dude. I did a fucking huge deep dive on Harmony in like November or December of last year. I super regret not buying because it was crazy low. I am waiting for the launch of Flare. I will not buy an IOU of anything. Similar to like precious metals for me, I want to have the physical asset, I guess, is the best way to put it. Could be wrong. What was the other one? The internet computer through what is it called? Definity? I don't even remember what the fucking IOU was selling for. I mean, maybe the IOU is a good move. I just don't trust it. I forget what exchange the IOU for Definity was on. It was on like Coin something, and it was way lower than $122. Fuck. Yeah, I mean, I think Garcha on my Patreon was talking about Definity 2 or 3 months ago, and I'd heard the name, but then I looked again, and a lot of people were like, who is Definity and why are they past XRP when they launched or whatever it was? Definity is a monster. I mean, they are very, 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 very big. During the bear market, certainly something I want to accumulate. Do I think Litecoin is good? From a utility standpoint, I could care less about Litecoin. However, we've seen it run in the past, so it might be a good move. AGI, yeah, Singularity, bro, fucking huge. Preston, by the way, at the beginning of this video, I talked about Singularity Net, AGI. Singularity is fucking ridiculous, by the way. If you haven't looked into Singularity, you need to look up Singularity. Hanson Robotics, Sophia, which was like the first citizen of the European Union, or either the EU or the UN. They're tied into Cisco. They're tied into some very, very deep statey type Chinese companies. Singularity Net is big. So yeah, the dude that posted about Singularity, check out Singularity DAO. They just launched maybe 4 weeks ago. It's essentially going to be an AI powered DeFi portfolio. So not a big fan of the tokenomics, but more of like a long term type thing. So. Yeah, bro. Singularity is big. I mean, AMP, I agree. I don't hold any. I plan on getting in the bear market for sure. Does Litecoin provide you any utility? That's probably in response to Alex's question. Litecoin certainly provides utility for certain people that use it, but I mean, what is the point of spending a digital asset right now? I would never go to a store and spend a digital asset. Vic is a monster. Thanks, Vic, dude. You have horses, bro, so I think the 99.99 is probably not too crazy for you. I really appreciate that, though, dude. At some point, man, I'm going to come down there and ride on one of those like a cowboy after XRP goes to like 10 or 20 bucks. Not financial advice, so. All right, I'm adding another one to the list. It's Nervos Network. You have to understand, guys, like for the past month, I've literally just been trying to search through whale wallets to try to find coins that are going to go 100x. So like these coins you guys are talking about probably have real world utility, but I've been trying to find ones that could go 100 or 1,000x. So I mean, I will look into these ones certainly. So Definity's fucking big. Nicholas asked, did I sell a certain percentage of my bags yet? Or am I just riding the wave? It's his first bull market. He can't decide what the right play is. So, all right, from my standpoint, it doesn't matter what I did. For me, I will tell you, Nick, I did not sell any of the bags that I would consider to have utility. But I am not in my first bull market. So I've had enough capital where I could delve out into some of these smaller assets. And I've had a couple of coins do really well. I had a coin do an 80x from a smallish investment, but not too small, and I cashed that out. I also cashed out my initial investment into all of crypto, what I would consider my initial investment since late 2016. I cashed that out and I cashed that other one out. That is all that I've taken out of crypto. But if I was a first-time investor in this market and I just had utility bags, being that I wrote out the 2000s, and this is not financial advice, this is just what I would do. In 2017, I wrote out an entire bear market, and I think I put in maybe $2,000 or $3,000 in 2017, and it went up to like 30. I never cashed out. I held it, and then I ended up, I think, cashing out around maybe 10 grand and trading into some assets where I didn't lose my ass completely. But for me, it's all about risk management and trying to build up capital to put you into a power position for the next bull run. So no, to answer your question, no, I haven't sold my utility assets. I've sold some of the ones that I got lucky on. I'm holding the utility assets until they hit certain valuations. But if it was my first bull market, knowing what I know now, I always tell people this is not financial advice, but taking profits is never a bad thing because you can always find something else that's going to go up in value. Now, when you lose those, everything on paper is just on paper. If you lose those profits on paper, then you lose those profits in real life or the potential to capitalize and cash in on those profits in real life. So, you got to make your own moves. But for me, I hated holding through that 2-year bear market with no capital when I would have had more. And I don't know. I just believe at some point I think prices may consolidate for a while and then go back up. But at some point we have to have a bear market. It's just the way that markets work. It's kind of the way to do it. Well, and here's the thing too. So Oz says, sell high, buy in low. Is correct. If you're involved in any of these small ones, I have been in situations where and granted, this is just me. My utility assets are where they're at, and I've had situations this bull run where my utility assets were much lower in value than the speculative ones. But that's just kind of the way that it went. But there's been situations where I put like $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 into something, which is a lot of money to a lot of people, but it's went up to an unsustainable value, and I didn't sell like an idiot because I thought the market cap is still low. It can go to this valuation, et cetera, et cetera. There is no time where your mental state doesn't fuck with you in this market. So I am completely transparent with you guys. I had the utility-based assets. I put in nothing more into the utility-based assets. The only two utility-based assets I bought since November of last year were XRP and Alliance Block. I've traded in and out of. I still hold, and I believe in it very much so. And Quant. I bought more XRP at 40 cents, and I bought Quant, and I forget what it was at. But what I put into this market since November of last year, I put 15 grand in. Put 15 grand into this market since November of last year, and I cashed out 220 from that 15 grand. That doesn't include the utility assets that I spent before Patreon, before YouTube, that I worked my ass off accumulating XRP, accumulating HBAR, these things. So $15,000 is a lot of money to me because I don't make a shit ton of money on the side. I haven't been doing YouTube as much. The Patreon is what it is, but I'm a sole income provider for my family. But it shows you the power that $10,000 or $15,000 can do in this market. Granted, in November of last year, putting that amount of money in, I was solely basing my investment strategy on utility assets. And it went up to whatever it went up to. I would have had way more. I would have been able to cash out more if I would have been able to be mentally cold. When you can be cold as hell in this market, and you can literally remove emotion, and you can do the research, and you can find these projects that you think may do well, especially right now with these hypey ones. 60% of the ones that you get into with the hype ones are going to be fucking rug pulls. You're going to lose your money. But if you can catch one or two of them and be a mental, literally cold as ice, cold motherfucker in this marketplace, not care about thoughts, emotion, anything. When you hit a certain level, you sell and you keep it on the side and you do the same thing again and again. That is very hard to do. That is the most successful that I've been in this market is whenever I'm not mentally like that all the time. It's very hard to be like that on a consistent basis. If you can do that consistently, you will be completely fine. It's almost insane to do that because you start almost believing in these projects, right? Like you get into these things and they start going up, and like you get into the community and these telegrams and stuff, and everybody's talking, and it's like it's so hard to like just be cold and heartless and just sell because you start caring about people, and it's like I've had opportunities to sell and potentially dump on patrons. I just won't do it. That's another reason I kind of stopped posting the small caps. Now I do post them still a little bit on the Telegram and stuff, but I just won't do it. But then you even get like attached to these communities. It's like, man, this only has a $8 million market cap, and I got in so early. It can go back up, but it's insane. If you're cold and you're heartless in this market, you will do extremely well. If you're willing to put the time in to do the research, the ones that I find that have done well, I mean, it's almost like I am going to end this in a second, but it's almost like I have spent every day for the past year, probably 4 to 6 to 8 hours a day, maybe 10 hours sometimes, researching. The ones that I've found that do well, some of them were during the research. Some of them are literally you just stumble upon them. And it's only after doing that amount of research where you're fucking exhausted, nothing's worked out, and then you stumble across one or two after the fact. And it's random how you stumble across them. Like I've searched through whale wallets and done all this other shit. I mean, you have to do that stuff if you want to do well on these smaller ones. But now with all these hypey scams, I don't know if looking through whale wallets is the move. Maybe going to like CoinMarketCap, looking at the trending assets, the top 10 on there, because these are coins that are actually already listed to CoinMarketCap. And then going to the holders of those coins and seeing what moves those people are making. That would be safer to me than going to something like Dex Tools right now, where you see the top 10 scanning. which can be botted, and they can just completely keep refreshing that to make these scam coins trend. So coin market cap, maybe CoinGecko, the trending assets, the top assets. Look through the top 50 wallets on those assets, and when you get to a wallet that might have like, you could either do it on BNB or Ethereum network on Uniswap. Look for wallets that have anywhere from like $150,000 to $200,000 in fiat, and then maybe like 50 to 100 coins, and then go to their transactions and see what they're buying. And if you can get into something that they only have, none of this is financial advice. This is how I would do it. This is how I have done it. Once you find what these big wallets are doing, you go to their transactions. Look for very, very recent transactions. And I would say even something with like 200 to 300 holders maybe. But then once you find that token name, try to vet the token out. Go to Twitter, see if there's a Twitter for that token that they bought into. See if there's a Telegram. See if there's any information you could possibly get about that token. I mean, there's so many scams out there. You're going to get rugged if you do that to an extent, but you can also potentially win on a couple of them. So utility assets are the way to go, though, guys. I'm sorry. I mean, that's if you're a risk-averse investor and you just want to hold, there is nothing wrong with accumulating these assets that we know are certainly going to change the world. I have a Patreon that told me that they have about $6,000 total into crypto. And that person is telling me that, 20% of the portfolio is an XRP, or I would say like 33% is an XRP. So about $2,000 in XRP. I'm not going to say she or he, but that person also said, I've lost money during these dips. I want to make money. I'm in a situation where, I'm living with my parents. I'm in my early 40s. I want to do something well. What do I do at this point in time? And there's really no answer for that except for saying, I don't necessarily, if I only had that amount in crypto, I would have to consider what I think XRP could possibly go to, which in this bull market, I really have no idea. But from a conservative standpoint, let's say the bull market continues, I would say $6 to $9 XRP, and it could go way higher. I have no idea, but that would be a conservative guess. So $2,000 into something that's at $1 right now. If it goes to $6, that person is going to have what, 12 grand? It's certainly not life-changing money, but maybe it gives that person the capital to do whatever. So this person on Patreon, I'm saying, like these small investments do well, but it's like, I love when people come in even with that small amount, because that person is seeing where the market is going. They're seeing what the implications are for the future as far as a small, and this is what I told this person, $6,000 in fiat as a power position during the bottom of a bear market can change your fucking life. $6,000 into an asset that we know that has utility during the very bottom of a bear market, look at Cardano, look at any of these assets, can literally change your life. Cardano, $6,000, what was it, like $1.70? It would have been like $140,000 or $150,000 if you would have bought in at the bottom. But right now for me, am I going to put $6,000 or $4,000 into XRP right now? No, I'm just not, because I think a 6 to an 8x is great. It could go way higher than that. I have no idea, but I think the potential for a 20 to a 50 to 100x is much more appealing to me, understanding that I can also lose my money doing that. It's a difficult proposition for a low investment as far as capital is concerned right now in this market, because certainly people see the utility in XRP. Certainly people see the utility in HBAR, et cetera, et cetera. But the mindset of putting $1,000 or $2,000 into HBAR or XRP right now, with the expectation to become a millionaire in the next year, and this person does not have that mindset, by the way. I'm just saying there is that mindset out there, is not going to happen. We have many factors in play. XRP and HBAR and Quant, these are assets that you accumulate like blue chip stocks. Not financial advice, but you accumulate them when you can and however you can. and you hold them, because at some point in time they're going to be utilized. They're not $1,000 is not going to make you rich overnight. $1,000 during a bear market can certainly do great, but these are not assets right now that are going to make you $1 million from $1,000. There are assets out there that can make you $100,000 from $1,000 if you're willing to lose money in the interim and try to find them. So it's crazy right now. You know, this market is nuts. I'm trying to at least give you guys as much information as I have. So I have retweeted Lady Enigma, Kevin. Her shit is great. She has been here since the very beginning of this channel. I will certainly retweet her channel again. So, Lady, DM me on Twitter, or I'll just go to your Twitter page, and I will certainly share your stuff. I have no problem with that. I need to listen to some of your stuff too. Tomorrow I have adjustable dumbbells coming. So I am going to try to cut down on smoking and try to do the cut down on drinking a little bit type thing again here. So, and try to help myself a little bit. So yeah, Lady, I will certainly try to help you out. I will help out anybody in the space. I will help out projects in the space that I believe in. I will help out anybody. I don't care. But I'm only one person. So at some point people have to help themselves as well. I'll take you as far as leading you to the boat, but at some point you have to get on it and ride it across the lake. Right. So I love all you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this live stream. I am going to end this. So have a great night. Okay.
Riley's syrup in the bathroom.
Why?